Here we are.
That's right. So how's everybody doing out there in internet land, Facebook land, wherever you are watching, listening, YouTube land? Oh my gosh, we've got it all going on at once. Welcome to The Evolution. My name's Dominic.
I'm Diane.
And we are here today to talk about this thing called certainty. Certainty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you notice our last name, Certa. When I was growing up, I was like, what does that word mean, Dad? What does that word mean? It's from our family, certa. So I, did a little research. It means certainty, to be certain. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah, and so we have this show. It's called The Evolution, and the whole point really is because we came up with a name because we're in terms of personal growth and development, and even professional growth and development. I mean, we're all kind of like at the leading edge of our comfort zone all the time, and we're either expanding or we're contracting, and the idea is for us as humans to strive toward living and being at the highest, purest, most clearest state of consciousness that we can potentially be at, because that affects everything in our life: our health, our relationships, our jobs, our ability to make money, our environment, So it's really, certainty totally applies, because without certainty, we can very easily get off track. And we're not going to be talking about like, okay, today is Sunday. We know that and we're certain about it, but that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about. Certainty in terms of our growth and development. Right, so certainty, and what we've experienced over the years, very simply, is that certainty is it's a byproduct. It's a secondary result.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I am the founder of the Self-Achievement Network. Diane and I are like co-owners of the Institute for Self-Achievement. What did I say before?
Self-Achievement Network.
Yeah, that's the kind of where we do the other work. We're creating this, this network of people, but the Institute is where it all began. So this is like the school part of it. Yeah. And so I created the Self-Achievement Network, and we're like co-collaborators in the Self-Achievement, in the Institute for Self-Achievement. And I'm also the author of a program called Life Plan. I'm wearing my Life Plan shirt today. And also we have co-authored a book called Manager Hacker, and 11 or 12 other companion books. Yeah. We'll talk about that on another show. So anyway.
Yeah.
And you?
I'm Diane. And I spend a lot of my time, the majority of my time, supporting people in taking charge of their health. And I do that in my job. I have a full-time job where I do that. And also, obviously, here in the network, very near and dear to my heart as well. So, let's talk about certainty.
So go ahead.
Why is it important?
Well, let's talk about what it is. I mean, there's a lot of similar words to certainty. What are some of those words?
Yeah, well, like having confidence, being decisive, being sure, being truthful, doubtless. Opposite of certainty is doubt, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think, really having confidence and being decisive are the two that really come to mind the most for me when I think of certainty.
Yeah. Yeah. Assuredness, sureness, truth. And it's about our experience of that, those conceptual words, right? The opposite of certainty is doubt. So certainty is doubt, is being doubtless, right? And when it comes to us, having an experiential experience of certainty, of confidence, of decisiveness, or being decisive, assuredness, truth, doubtless, right? It doesn't magically happen. And if you had a Harry Potter wand, that would be nice. However, that's just not how it works. Back in the olden days, our teachers used to say, there's no free lunch. So if you want to have those experiential feelings, of certainty and doubtlessness and things like that, it takes work. And one of the things that we learned about is how to create that is through the vehicle of making and keeping personal agreements. And before we get into that, I want to just talk about the root meaning. We looked it up this morning. Like, what is the root meaning of the word certainty? And it gets back to the first 4 letters, cert, to cert. What does that mean? It means to sift through. It's interesting because if you have one of those, what is it called?
A sifter?
Yeah, a sifter. Thank you very much. A sifter, like with flour or whatever, right? Or you're on the beach and you have one of those things where you shake it or, whatever. What's left is, the stuff that you want to really get to, the golden nuggets or whatever they are, right? So to sift through the bullshit, to sift through the confusion, to sift through all the hesitation, and to get to the root way to create this experiential feeling of certainty. So through making and keeping personal agreements.
Yeah, we've all, had experiences of feeling uncertain. And my experience of feeling uncertain is that I just feel stuck. And there's like no growth. We talked about, the show is about expansion and evolution, and being in uncertainty, not being able to make a decision, or feeling uncertain about where I'm at in life or where I'm going or what I'm doing. It's just a feeling of being stuck. There's no movement really.
And certainly when we were in an environment of working on our personal growth and our development like that, when we were in that environment, it was intensified, it was magnified. And so it was always this daily, weekly being participating in the making and the keeping of personal agreements. And there was all sorts of fun ways to do that. And so like with Life Plan, we've recreated that similar environment where people can practice. And it takes practice, like setting a goal. People on the surface, it just looks like, oh, well, I'm going to set a goal. And then if I follow through with all the steps that need to be taken to reach this goal, then I get the big prize at the end, whatever that may be. However, there are secondary benefits from doing that, right? By making an agreement. So you're going to, let's say, set a goal. I mean, right now we're both in the process of working on our health, on lowering the body fat content, because Domenic, well, you can't really see it, but it's not that big. But I have put on some weight, and I know that there are those of you out who have done the same thing. And then days and weeks go by, and like I said earlier, it's like certainty is not something that you just okay, so you create it, and then one day you wake up and there you feel certain, and then 2 days later it's gone. Well, what the hell happened, right? It's because we stopped that process, right? It's not like it's magical or anything like that. It's not mystical. But so we're working on lowering our body fat content, and there's all fun things that we get to do, like portion sizes.
That's a big one for me. I joined a new club, and I'm, some days getting up at 5 a.m. to go and do my hour workout. That's really intense, building my muscle. And they test me every week to see where I'm at on the journey. And it's fun. It takes a lot of discipline, and I feel a lot more certain about where I'm headed and getting there today than I did a month ago, because I've been working so hard.
And everybody can relate to that, because so getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, not every single day. She sets her time, her gym hours for different times during the week. However, it's the doing it that creates the confidence and the self-reliance, the self-certainty, all that. It's through so now she knows that if she continues doing the portion sizes and I don't, it's exactly the same thing, right? So if we continue to do those things, then we will have a result at the end. Now, having the result is great. What about all the stuff that occurs as a byproduct, as a secondary result from doing that.
Yeah, from keeping
That's
those
what
agreements.
is where the golden nuggets really are.
Yeah.
Right? So people, we hear all the time, well, I just don't feel confident. So you need to give a speech, for example. Oh, there's the TED Talk now, right? And so people, well, I just don't feel confident. Well, look at what you're doing in your life. Well, I'll practice the speech for 4,000 times until I get it in my memory. But what about the 40 pounds of fat that you have that that you need to lose? Okay, if people would engage themselves, participate in a process, the byproducts of doing that process will happen naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Self-trust, right?
Self-confidence,
confidence,
feeling empowered,
mm-hmm.
feeling encouragement.
Yeah. And all of those words, right? Because they're just words until you do it. Until you do it, you don't have the experiential understanding. And then once you do, then it becomes a real thing that you can actually talk about, confidence and like that. But they all start with the word self-development, self-trust, self-reliance, self-certainty, like that.
Self-esteem. Yeah.
Self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, if we're not actively, when I'm not actively working on it, how do I feel? Just like you, just like everybody else. Confused. I have hesitation. Oh, I know I shouldn't have that glass of wine, but I should be working on mine, but I'm not going to, so I'm just going to drink it anyway. Or I need to go exercise, or I need to work on this, that, or I'm working on the book, and all this stuff, and there's all these hesitations going on. It takes intentionally putting ourselves into an environment where we can practice.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like the golden nuggets. I mean, the result at the end is a golden nugget. Also, there's golden nuggets in between.
Sure.
Right. So anyway.
Yeah, starting with agreements.
Starting with making personal agreements. Yeah. And if you're not, when I'm not in an environment, when I'm, not doing it, then it's just so easy to let things slide.
Yeah.
So that's what personal growth and development really means to us. So, if we don't find a way to work on developing our certainty, and like we're stuck.
Yeah.
And until we can, remember, oh yeah, we have a way to do that. That's called making personal agreements. Actually making a plan, setting a date, and then beginning the journey, going through that.
And having some kind of accountability built in. Like, I love this class that I'm going to, and that they measure my body fat percentage and my lean muscle mass and all that on a weekly basis. And that's really my accountability check-in, because I want to see the results on the paper. And so having some sort of accountability is huge, I feel, in my experience, in making progress. Like, I can make progress on my own. And my experience is that usually it's a lot slower when I don't have some sort of built-in accountability and some built-in support, which is, exactly why we, created the Institute for Self-Achievement and Life Plan and all of that, is to provide people an opportunity to have that support. Mm-hmm. Because it's so important. And I feel like I've made major progress when I have that built-in support and accountability.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so simply the way that it works, the Life Plan is a course. It's a downloadable course. If you want to start on the journey, you have to download the course, because it's all in there, written down, self-paced. And every week we have a Q&A, open format for anybody that has the course, that they can ask questions. There's 22 units. So let's say one person is on unit 1 and another person is on unit 4, and another person is on unit 17. They can join in the Q&A any single time, anytime that they want. And we're going to start expanding those times, because we now have so many international people participating. They don't get they have the advantage of, because we're in Central Time in the United States. Right. So anyway, we're going to expand that out. And it's not for everybody, and this is not meant to be a sales pitch. I mean, the way we come from is like it's your life, and if you want to do it, then great. And if you don't want to do it, that's great too. So we're all on our own journey. We're going to get to where we're going, regardless.
One way or another.
Exactly. We're going to get there, and it's going to be this method or that method or this environment or that environment.
Or take this long or that long. Or, yeah.
So we just invite you to come and play. And the other thing is that we're working on now is doing some little very specific, for a better word, master classes or pop-up courses that we can stay and get focused on some more specific things to help out. So we're going to start doing that in the next couple of weeks. So with that, what else?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can think of some examples out there, like, for example, writing our book, the book called Manager Hacker. It's on Amazon. It's in our marketplace in the Self-Achievement Network. That was an intense process. And, there were days where I would make an agreement to work on that for an hour. And then I would get to like 45 minutes and my brain would be fried. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I should have only made an agreement for 45 minutes. But that was like, no, okay, all right. You know better, Dominic. Just keep going for 15 more minutes and do it. And, every time that I did, it's like I felt fabulous. And isn't that the way that everybody wants to feel about themselves? Fabulous feeling, like that I've accomplished something, and I feel great about who I am and the progress that I'm making. So, writing that book drove me absolutely crazy. And we had, collaborated on a lot of things. I'm like, honey, I need a little bit of your time right now. And so we'd have to make agreements because they work, period. And we've all seen that there's a lot of programs out there, and they don't have self-esteem. If you're going to be successful, you have to have confidence, and want to be successful, you have to, get rid of all the mind chatter and you have to have a new mindset and all this other stuff. But it's how to create it. There's talking about that. Yeah, you have to have those things and you have to create, but how to do it. And it's we've learned, and what's worked for us, the vehicle of making and keeping personal agreements. And if you don't have an environment to practice in and people that know what they're doing to be able to guide you, it becomes very difficult.
Yeah.
And it goes away in just a heartbeat. You go out with a friend and they're having coffee. Well, let's have a piece of dessert. And then, boom, it's out the window. Yeah. And then 4 weeks later, you think, I got to get back on that wagon that I was on for one day.
Right.
And again, it's not for everybody. It's about having fun with it and challenging ourselves to. I love it that I challenge myself, and I feel so fortunate that I was able to practice way back in those days when it took me 5-6 years of practicing before I really began to trust myself that I was gonna, I would make an agreement to be on time, and I wasn't always on time. And there was one time when I got kind of like put on the ropes, and my teacher said to me, "If you're late one more time, I'm out." Guess what? I wasn't ever late for again a meeting with my mentor, right? Because it was, and it's about making it important. So when we make ourselves important to begin to practice, then all of a sudden these byproducts, these secondary results begin to fall. I don't know if that's the word. Maybe it's from within, right? There, all of a sudden, while you're walking down the side, I can remember many years ago, I'd be walking down the street. And even now, when I do something, I'm walking down the street, and all of a sudden I was like, I wonder why I feel so good. What the hell's going on here? I didn't do anything. I didn't drink or smoke or anything like that. I just feel good. And I, got it. This is a result of, right? And we know very simply, the better that we feel about ourselves, the more results, real results, in terms of personal growth that we can create and make more. It gives it our ability to make more money.
Mm-hmm. And support other people. It can help give it away. Through this development organization that we were in, I remember when I first started out, and I would have to stand up and say something in front of the group of people. And I know for a lot of people, that's, pretty scary to stand up in front of people and have to say something and talk. And I used to get a lot of feedback about my volume because I was kind of talking like this.
The volume of your voice.
Volume of my voice, yeah. Because I was kind of, I was shy, felt shy and
Minnie Mouse.
not confident. And and so I used to constantly get feedback like, we can't hear you, keep your volume up. And as I started to keep agreements, make agreements and keep agreements, and I had an experience of gaining confidence, that feedback went away. I no longer had that feedback about, speaking loudly and speaking clearly, and I could stand up in front of a room of 200 people and speak loud enough everyone could hear me, because I just developed that certainty. And again, it was out of making agreements and keeping agreements, and sometimes not keeping the agreements and cleaning it up and having that environment and that support to, my coaches already went through the process and they knew that that was going to happen and it's not the end of the world. And then it's, you just get back on and recommit and move forward. And I have a totally different experience of myself now being up in front of people and speaking. And it was out of, gaining that certainty and that confidence that really made a huge, huge difference. Mm-hmm. Definitely works.
Oh yeah.
Lots of areas.
Presentation skills. I mean, that's just one of many. Like I worked for a company and I was in sales. And so while I was learning this whole process of making and keeping personal agreements, I would make agreements to make my cold calls, and do a minimum of, let's say, I can't remember exactly what it was. But sometimes it was 15, sometimes it was 20, sometimes it was 30 each day. And I had, my colleagues were doing just, however many they had time for. And I knew that they didn't know better. But all of a sudden, I'm making President's Club because I made this commitment to make a certain amount of cold calls, and I'm carving new territory, expanding, my business. And the other guys didn't know about that, and I became, recognized as being one of the sales leaders because I was creating results, all because that I was making a personal agreement to make a certain amount of sales calls. And I did that, and it's like, there's so many applications that it can be used for. It's in the doing it, being in that environment. And that's what Life Plan provides. So,
yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
It's fun stuff.
All righty. Okay, well, that's our show for today. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it so much. And we'll see you back here, on our next episode. We do it every Sunday.
Yeah.
And we do it live. It gets recorded, and then we share it out to the different hubs inside the Self-Achievement Network. And if you have any comments or questions, always make them here in the thread or direct message us and let us know where your struggles are at.
Yeah.
Let us know where you're having, a tough time or a difficult time or whatever whatever that means to you. We're here to support, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Have fun.
Have an awesome week.
And remember to
stay inspired
and
have fun.